You in that photo?
Yeah, there. Hannaford's using me as a stepmother.
Who's that?
Hannaford. Oh, yeah. Tony Hannaford.
Oh, Tony Hannaford. It is. Sorry, Ben.
Can we get, during the chat, can we get one of the books on the table as well?
Yeah, we will.
Just to,
Sure.
so nice and, yeah, perfect. All right, let's get into it.
All right, mate, we'll go through a little bit.
Quarter two,
because we have another bloke
Sure.
coming in, so we want
No worries.
All right, let's get straight into it. We've only got interleague. Well, we haven't just got only. We've got interleague football this weekend, so no need to preview any action. So we're just going to have a good chat here with special guest Pistols at this time of night. Always get someone special on from the Hills Football League, and got this story, I guess, on Saturday when we headed to Gumeracha Oval.
Yes, indeed, Benny. We're out there, and as we said, it's a Gumeracha Football Club reunion. I think special one, 1984 Premiership side, and this particular man was involved in it. And I thought, well, having a chat and then become aware about the book, which you can see a Gummer for me. And so it's a very good pleasure, I suppose, to have here in the Huddle studio in Totnes. He's come all the way up from sunny, not
It was
Summer
today.
Bay, but sunny Clayton Bay, Dr. Nigel Jamieson.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having us, Jez, and thanks for coming along. And just firstly, the doctor, because I said you've just blown the high Q with this studio, absolutely. Doctor of Sport, am I right?
Well, event management, yeah. I did a thesis on the Tour Down Under, and looking at the social capital of the Tour Down Under and regional South Australia. So that was the closest I could get to doing one on football. So I did it in 2013 through Southern Cross University. And I get ribbed about the doctor bit, but it maybe helps sell some books perhaps in the long run.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Just the Tour Down Under, say what the commercial side of things, the effect it has on towns, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that was one of the areas, and also the social impacts that it has. I'm not a cyclist, so I'm not a lycra lunatic, so...
Apologies to all the cyclists. But,
yeah, I've just got people turn off then. But I just thought that, it comes into a town and it just sets up and then it goes. What sort of effect does it have on the community? Does it have a positive effect, a negative effect? Do people not come down to the main street because they can't get a park? So I looked at all those elements and, right across the regional areas, and basically found out it was probably more negative than positive.
I was going to ask you what's your thesis.
Because things like...
I know a lot of businesses, I know for Sterling, when they go through a couple of times, and a lot of businesses, they told me that, they just don't open for the day because of the parking situation.
That's right. Yeah, and then, there was a situation, I looked at basically the 2012 Tour Down Under, and there were some situations where all the community groups would line up in a row to do their whatever, their barbecues or their hot dogs. And they wouldn't share with each other what they were doing. So you could have got 4 sausage sizzles in a row, or you could have got 3 hot dog stands in a row.
I get you, not variety. They all did the same.
Yeah, so they weren't really working together, and that came up time and time again. I went to Anguston, and I had a series of forums where I talked to the locals, and one lady said this year was the first year in 12 years she's had a booking for accommodation for Anguston, so for the Tour Down Under. So she said they just come in and they go. And my thoughts were that you should have perhaps trained the locals, and then they could do their Christmas pageants or they can do other events.
Sure.
But Events SA come in, take the infrastructure and go to the next place without leaving any legacy. And I think that's wrong, because the towns give us so much. Without the towns, then it wouldn't be a Tour Down Under, so they should give a bit back. But they were paranoid about me finding out about how much Lance Armstrong got paid for, and I had to use the Freedom of Information Act to get any information from Events SA. So it was on the back foot from the start, and in the end, they certainly didn't want to know my findings and recommendations.
It's interesting, Nigel, the outcome of that sort of situation with Lance Armstrong, how it ended up.
Yeah, well, we found out eventually, didn't we?
Till we get our money back.
Yeah.
I don't know. But now, Gumeracha Football Club,
Yes.
just tell us your introduction to that and your history of the Gumeracha.
Yeah, well, I grew up in Gumeracha. Some say I haven't grown up yet, but I was there for the first 17 years of my life on a farm in Forreston. And played junior football, of course, junior cricket there. Played A grade in first year in 1973 as a 16-year-old. And then basically back and forth over 20 years, I'd go away and play for another club and come back. And it's always been my home club. So in 2021, I realised that it was 100 years since they joined the Torrens Valley Football Association. And they won their first premiership in 22. So I thought, well, maybe 100 years I should do something about it, because there was very little information, and unfortunately the club had a big spring clean, I think, in the 80s, and threw out a lot of information. So I thought, it shouldn't be too bad, but when I found out there was a lack of information, it became a bit of a labour of love, and probably it took me, till now, what's that, 2 or 3 years on, to finish the book.
So the first book, which you see in the foreground here, was the first...
That's from 21 to 1999. Originally I was going to do 49 to 99, and then I realised that my father played in a premiership in 47, so I thought I'd better include that. And then I thought, well, why don't I include something before the war? And Tim Hanna, a bit of a stalwart of the club, he found a lot of information, had a lot of interest with the military side of things. And it surprisingly came out a lot of information in the 1930s. Gumeracha won 4 premierships in a row, were undefeated for a couple of years. So it just progressed from there. So it's basically every game for every grade that's ever been played.
It's just like the Addams Family here. A thing comes up and just opens some pages.
Yeah.
And then, as you said, because that was such a successful, or you're a glutton for punishment, the second volume, which was actually released last Saturday, or
yes, that's
launched,
right.
so to speak.
Yeah, launch is a bit grandiose.
If you want to have a look through that one thing,
with the success of the club in the last 4 or 5 years, I thought, well, I should upgrade it from 2000 to 2023. So that was a lot easier to get. I didn't have to go through microfiche or anything like that. I had a lot of stuff was digital, so it was a lot easier to put together. So it probably took me about 6 months
just
for that second one.
Self-indulgent here. Didn't realise what you got in here. The page I opened, this is just...
so you've gone through every round, basically.
Got a picture here of Heathfield Open. I thought, what goes on here?
Yeah.
6-goal surge, 1991. I was the coach of Mount Lofty. And Roger Sweetman, I think, is the coach of...
Gumeracha. Yeah.
There you go. We beat you. Oh, there's 6-goal haul. Yeah, I remember that game. Played a little bit of wet conditions, which I don't think...
No, that's unusual for Heathfield.
Hey,
that's unusual.
Yeah. Well, that's right.
During this period, 2000 to 2023, obviously there was some challenging years there before the dominance at the moment. What did you pick up during...
Well, I didn't realise how bad it was until I saw some of the scores. And, in that period of my life, I was probably in the city and... it didn't have much connection with the club, but I was astounded by some of the scores and the thumpings that they got. And to the credit of the volunteers, and I've dedicated that second volume to the volunteers, they kept it going through what must have been very dark times.
Hey, I've just stopped on a page here, 2003, as you do. Stephen Pollock, who was a decent player, that obviously played down at North Adelaide, and
runner for Sydney
as well. And that's right. Yeah. But there was, despite the period, if I remember correctly, in the A's of struggling, there was, I guess, hope coming through, because I think you won at least a Courier Cup in the senior Colts with some really talented young boys.
That's right. And they came through quite quickly. I think we won 5 in a row in the 70s, but we didn't win our first A-grade premiership until 82. Yeah. So we had this great junior development program, but it didn't transfer to the A-grade for some time. But whereas in the teens, at the 2000 teens, they seemed to get thrust up. And some played 2 games. They played seniors in the morning and played A grade in the afternoon.
Well, I remember the premiership that we called the 2019 one under Ryan Nelson. I think some of those guys played in the premiership 17.
That's
one
right.
of the Parkers,
stuff,
a couple had 2 medals.
Yeah,
Selfish.
that's right.
Played in the A grade.
Yeah, that's right. They were really struggling for numbers, but it was great to see that, and that day was fantastic, beating Kersbrook for a start.
What was that like for you?
Oh, fantastic. It's 35 years since we'd won the last one, 84, which I played in, and we were ready to pass the baton on. 35 years is a long time to wait, so it was a great
Who was in
day.
the lace-up pistols? Is that Carpy? Or
Carpy, had the famous number 3 that he wore.
My lace-up would have stretched a fair bit if I'd worn it.
Legend.
Hey, growing up in Kersbrook, it goes back to the days when they used to field probably two senior sides, 2 colt sides, as the age groups were back in there. And,
The alarm's going
Gumeracha has never got any bigger.
No.
That just is amazing you when you look back and think
Yeah.
how football has changed. And also, you probably didn't play against it because they're in a different zone, but Malang was the same deal, and now they just have the 1 C grade side.
Yeah.
It's just a changing thing, and obviously with your research,
Yeah.
the changing face of Hills footy.
Yeah, that's discerning. It's unfortunate, but that's the reality of the situation. Whereas, you see towns like Meadows that have got a lot of subdivisions. Gumeracha really hasn't got far to move. They can't do many subdivisions the way it's situated, geographically, and also, Tony Hannaford owns most of the land, and he won't give any of that up. But I can say that he's a cousin, so I get away with it. But and you're hemmed in, and and I've got a couple of photos of, I think, 49 and 1989 aerial photos of the town, and that really hasn't changed a great deal at all. So it's, there's a lot of gloom and doom about no juniors and not having enough people to staff the club, and it's a real problem because of the geographic situation.
You're on the Huddle Reformed 88.9 FM, and also being live streamed for this segment. And the doc's in the house. We're talking to Dr. Nigel Jamieson, and a gummer for me. Now, the title of the books, where they come from.
A gummer for me is our theme song that we used to sing after a victory. So
can you give us a rendition?
No, I can't. No? But I'll say, a gummer for me. If you're not a gummer, you're no good to me. The Ashtons are tall and the Kersbrooks are small, but the mighty old gummer's the best of them all.
Sounds like a club song the Heathfield Allgate used to have the same, but it was for Division 1 clubs back in those days. Now, Gumeracha Football Club have had some great footballers over the days. I was very privileged on Saturday to talk to Brian Teakle.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people have told me he was probably one of the best footballers
superb.
that Gumeracha produced. And you said 73, when you first started in the A grade, was Brian still playing?
No, I took over his number 18. He stopped in 72.
Well, they gave it to good
Well, I don't know whether they gave it to me or I just pinched it, because I love Brian.
You obviously watched a lot of him when you were a
kid. And he was just so skillful and so balanced. And I had the privilege of playing cricket with him in Paracombe about 2 or 3 years after I started footy. And he was just superb sportsman, a superb man. And he's fantastic. And I acknowledged him at the launch because he was the one that first contacted me when he heard that I was writing the book, and he said, "That's a great idea, please, continue, and I'm going to buy the first copy," which he did. Yeah, he was terrific.
So, we're not going to put you on the spot by name them in order, but Gumeracha obviously had some very good footballers over the years when you look back. Obviously, Brian Teakle's up there. Yeah. Obviously, in the modern terms, Sam Hanna, triple male medalist, something special.
Yes.
But just some of the others that come to
Well, way back, there's King Sandico was a gun full forward. He kicked 23 goals one day, and that was the record for a long time, and until Quentin Graham kicked 40.
Yes, the 40, yes.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Ashby, I think Mick Ashby kicked quite a few. Again, it's in my appendices there. I should have schooled up on it before I came, but
We thought you just rattled off the top of your head there, Doc.
Ray Von Eyman was a very good footballer.
Yes.
He ex-Norwood. He came and played at Gumeracha, coached. A lot of people have a lot of time for him. I can remember him as a junior hanging over the fence watching him play. He was tough and he was a multi-skilled, very skillful player. I think he might have captained the association team in the Torrens Valley. He was terrific. In my era, Dennis Blees was very good, very self-effacing and humble. Ian Carpenter. Yeah, in terms of trying to sell some books, I named my best team in there in chapter 10. The team that I played with, the best players.
Oh, you better.
In this one.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
And so there was a lot of interest after I mentioned that at the launch because they wanted to see whether they got included. So I had to apologise to a few that they didn't make the list.
So it's in this book?
Yes, chapter 10. And I thought, well, that might move a few copies.
Might be some people watching will be interested in this.
And guys like Ken Cole, the Olympian basketballer, he played.
Yes.
He was fantastic, 1975.
Kenny Cole, a lot of people wouldn't know that, Nigel.
Yeah, no, he only played that 1 year. He came up with the coach, Rob Chaplain, who coerced him into playing because he was his boss in the education department. He was just a magnificent
character.
Have a look?
Yeah, just find it.
Yeah, sure. Greg Mullins, the butcher, in more ways than one. He was our coach. He used to make us run around the Gumeracha township, and then one day Brian Havey and Pim Assender stopped off at King Verrill's place and had a couple of beverages on the way home on the run. They lost track of time, so Greg found out about it, and we ended up doing that run every Tuesday night, I think, from then on to teach us a lesson.
So the period in the first book, so it's 21 to
1999.
All right, Benny, hit us with
You said here, the best I've played with at the risk of being exiled forever and not talked to for years. This is the best team of players I've played with at Gumeracha, all right? So full forward, is this right, David Hanna?
Yes.
Forward pocket, Nigel Jamieson.
Oh, I had to be in the team,
Like Roy Sarch. So centre forward, Nigel.
John Morley.
Yeah.
On the other pocket, you got half forward flank Don Miles, centre half forward Peter Cornish, half forward flank Frank Lampard.
Yes.
From the wing, you got Dennis Blees.
Yes.
Rod Hanna in the middle.
Yep.
Chris Cooper on your wing.
Yeah.
Lyle Fuller, half back.
Yeah.
Brian Stanbury, centre half back.
Yeah.
Rod Leith, half back flank.
Yes.
Ian Carpenter, back pocket. Roger Sweetman, back pocket. And Peter Code, full back. Your first ruck is Ken Cole, Greg Mullins, John Groves, or Ian Hanna.
Yeah.
And then second ruck is Nigel Jamieson, Ian Carpenter, and John Morley. Coach is Rob Chaplin. Runners Cole Buckby. Trainer manager is Merv Miles.
Yes.
And the interchange bench is Glenn Campbell, Mick Verrill, and Mick Curley.
Yeah.
Wow.
A few good players there.
Geez, would you put... So your forward pocket, second follower.
Yeah.
Were you the captain?
Second right. No, I didn't go that far. That's pushing a bit too much pistol.
That's fantastic. And even the runners and trainers that you've mentioned. So.
Yeah, no, there was some good players there. And you know, a lot. Someone came up to me afterwards and said, well, I've never heard of half those players because I played from 73 to 94. So some of them early on. John Groves, for example, who sadly passed away, he was a magnificent rover that loved a goal, and he was fantastic. So, yeah, there's some great names there.
Obviously, the flags, 82, 84.
Mm-hmm. Should have been 83, but they had that stupid 15 competition.
Yeah, well, I actually mentioned that on Saturday, how you feel a bit short-changed that you could play 3 in a row.
3 in a row.
Obviously, those are the highlights.
Yeah.
Any for you personally, any others that spring to mind?
Well, my only claim to fame, and I keep espousing it wherever I can, I'm the only player that played in the 75, 82 and 84 grand finals. So I was the only one there. But in between, I played at 4 other clubs.
Yeah, just tell us about the other clubs you went to.
Well, 73, 74, 5 Gumeracha. 76, I played a half a year at Onkers. I couldn't get a clearance, so I only played the last half on a permit. So I missed the year that the game that we played and beat Heathfield, ending
the
their
second-
88 games run.
It's
Or
the second
something.
game of the year.
Yeah. 77, 78, I went back to Gumeracha and coached the seniors, senior Colts to a premiership. 79, I went to Houghton. Again, couldn't get a clearance, so I played under assumed name.
Doc, what are you doing?
What does hang on, just for our listeners who aren't, what does that mean?
I played under someone else's name, and
Like
I
a
wasn't.
horse, like a horse and milk,
Yeah.
running under
Fine cotton.
Fine
That's
cotton.
right.
What was your name?
I think I was Byron Davis.
So, Gum wouldn't clear you, obviously.
No, so
You're going to play.
You
Yeah.
played at another club under Byron Davis.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, he was one of my schoolmates. So I played. And the funny thing is, the last game we're playing Woodville West, and a ruckman snotted me in front of the umpire, and the umpire said, "He's reported. I'll see you Tuesday night." And I said, "Oh, I'm busy Tuesday night," because then it would all come out, and we would have been in big trouble.
You played the whole year.
Yeah.
It's just been found out until now.
What did Byron have? Like a moustache? And you didn't, or
No, he was
That's
a
fantastic.
good lad.
The whole you got away with it.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Eh?
So in 1980, I went back. I said I'd only go back if I played.
Who went back? Byron?
No, I went back to Gumeracha, and Byron went back to Houghton. So because he was a similar build, and
Did
so
Byron get medal votes?
I don't know. I know he didn't turn up at that tribunal. That's for sure.
That's a
So
great story.
80, I played at Gum. 81, I coached Yankalilla.
Yep. Mighty Tigers.
Yeah, I didn't get sacked. I just didn't get reappointed. I was on a
All right.
one-year contract. Then I went to Edwardstown. Didn't like Edwardstown. I came back before the deadline on the 30th to Gumeracha 82.
Yeah.
Played in the Premiership 83, 84. Gumeracha 85. I played at A1 Amateurs for Adelaide College.
Yep.
86. I coached the SAYAT football team, South Australian Institute of Technology. 87. I was assistant coach at Ingle Farm. 88, I was in Canberra, came back and played one game under Phil Verrill, who I coached as a junior.
What, under the name of Phil Verrill?
No, not that one.
Coach Phil Verrill.
Yeah, and then 89, that was sort of my last full year, because then I went overseas and studied in Oregon. So
Yeah.
then I came back. When I was in Oregon, I'd do a term of study, come back and work for a term so I could afford to go back.
Yep.
So I ended up playing B grade for a couple of years with some mates and having a...
Hey, obviously with all the different football clubs you've gone around, just the community feel at Gumeracha generates. That must have been because obviously it's your home club, but just that would have been a pull for you to come back.
Yeah, and you know when we moved from the farm in '72, it was a big pull. I played '72. Rob Norsley and I played at West Torrens in the juniors in the under-17s. They wanted me to go to the under-19s, but I just wanted to come back and have a kick with my mates and come back to Gumeracha.
A lot of blokes did that.
Yeah, and so it's just, the community, as I said in the book, it's probably, my maternal grandmother would be rolling in a grave, but it's a bigger pull than the church or whatever, the club. That's the community centre. And after the 2019 in particular, the premiership, you could just see the whole town lifted because of that success. And it wasn't going to happen if you went to church for a month. So it was just fantastic. And it's the fabric of the community. So where else can you get so many diverse people in one area? So it's been fantastic.
You would have enjoyed Saturday off the field and on the field?
Well, I had my back to the game the whole game because I was selling the book.
Yeah.
So I didn't see a kick at all. But any time we flogged Kersbrook, it's got to be great.
So you were playing Spruker.
Yeah.
I would say you wouldn't have much trouble getting rid of this.
Well, number one, I printed 50 and I've sold them all. And volume 2, I've got about 18 left.
Where do people get one?
Well, they can email me on ozsportsdoc, so ozsportsdoc, DOC, @gmail.com, and I'll send them
I'll just get you to write that
form.
down, and we'll chuck that on the
Lovely.
page.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, yeah, so...
Hey, I got to ask you, being Gumeracha's a pretty traditional club.
Yeah.
I don't think, obviously the colours haven't changed since, even 1887 when they become the Magpies. 1921, I suppose.
Well, they were there. They were Magpies before that. I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to ask you, that traditional white with the black, white V. There was a period of time when they did actually change the jumpers and had the big Magpies.
Yes.
I think it just didn't look like Gumeracha.
No, I think I blame Lyle Fuller for that.
Fuller.
I think it was his era. I think he was the coach at that time.
That was in the 90s.
Yeah. It was a revolting Guernsey.
They were.
And even, like...
Similar to Port Magpies used to be.
Yeah. And even now I don't particularly like... I liked it for 1 year with having all the premiership players on the
Guernsey, yes.
But the big white V's the only way to go. Shouldn't
Traditionalist.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Hey, when you... And talking about the farm, what did you run on the family farm?
We only had 120 acres, so Dad milked cows for 30 years.
That's good. Nice segue, because what I was going to allude to, because I was lucky enough to talk to the 91-year-old Ken Carter, who was absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
Looks like he'd probably have a game tomorrow. But he was saying, the cows, same sort of situation. You had to go home and milk the cows, like on a Saturday night after the game and that sort of situation. So as you said, the cows don't wait, do they? So,
No. So when I was playing junior or senior colts, we wouldn't go to Ureda, though we wouldn't go to Stirling, too far away to come back and for Dad to start milking the cows. So we only went to Mount Pleasant, Kersbrook, Birdwood, sort of. Yeah. That was the way it was.
Now, in cricketing terms too, you were pretty successful. Handy cricketer?
Well, I don't know. I was lucky to play with people like Brian Teagle that made us all look much better.
Is this in the pipeline for the cricket?
Yeah. You've got to pick your best 11.
Well,
you'll be opening the batting and bowling, wouldn't you?
Well, I have to acknowledge Alan Phillips, who runs a genealogy company from Gumeracha, and he has for 30 years. He publishes under Gould Books, and something about outreaching the past, I can't remember, but he's fantastic. And he said, well, now you've got to do the cricket. And I said, well, I think once bitten, twice shy. I don't think that's going to happen. Because I left and played at Paracombe, so I didn't play a great deal at Gumeracha. I went back when I was a B grader.
Just knowing the history of Torrens Valley cricket a bit here, Doc, Paracombe, they're sort of... probably thought of how you think of Kersbrook in the footy. So what would empower you to play at Paracombe?
Again, schoolmates. Like I played at Houghton, and I'm going to forever regret saying that I played under assumed name, aren't I now? So I played cricket that same time, and with schoolmates, and then we had a fabulous Captain Mill Gilmore who played at North Adelaide footy, and Brian and Trevor Teakle, and then all the Johnses. So Muggsy Johns, Roger Johns, Manda Johns, Barry Johns.
Yes.
It
had
was
their own cricket team.
Oh, it was a fantastic time. They were crazy, those guys, but they were fantastic teammates.
And it's interesting to know also, Nigel, they had the Scrubbers, the footy team that played up there. Mel Gilmore played for. And,
that's right. Yeah, Byron Davis played.
Yeah, as we were talking about before, the little communities that had football teams that now disappeared, but during their time had a lot of success. Some of those little places.
That's right. Yeah, the Scrubbers.
Hey, now...
Green and black.
That's it. Some famous people, as you mentioned, Kenny Cole, been involved with sport at Gumeracha. Of course, being a Collingwood man, the great man Nathan Buckley.
Yes.
Played a season of cricket up
there. I believe so, yeah. He used to do training tricks where he'd hit the ball in the air and catch it behind his back. And he was a bit of a lair, they said, but he was a very good cricketer as well as obviously a good footballer.
Yeah. Hey, and in your time in the Hills Footy League, tough, great opponents that you've played against, or people that you admired, played against?
I didn't admire them.
Well, say this guy can play.
Yeah, no. Well, I was a 17-year-old ruckman, and someone said the other day, "You must have been crazy." And I said, "Well, you have to be crazy to be a ruckman." But I played against guys that were much older, but there was some great ruckmen. Chub Wegner at Birdwood, Tiny Warner at Kersbrook, Dave Underwood at Canberra. You always knew you were getting a game of footy when you played against those three at least. And so that's probably stood me in good stead down the track, but it was a bit of a rough initiation. I remember playing Trevor Stanton from Williamstown, and played for Centrals. I think he played the year before Williamstown. He played state football, so he tailed me up good and proper in my first year. But he was, I ended up teaching with him in Mount Gambier, and he was a lovely bloke. But on the field, they're all different animals.
I remember my older brother in the old Torrens Valley towards the end of it, Torrens Valley Association. He was 18. He had to go out and ruck for Stirling against the aforesaid Ravon Iron and of course Vern Mueller. As you said, as a young bloke, you learn a lot. So I know where you're coming from. That sort of aspect.
Yeah, it's interesting. A lot of them. There's some names I didn't remember, but John Bell was one guy who coached in 56, 57, coached 2 premierships, and he got reported one year 4 times, and every time it was against the Millers. Vern and his brother, and they all 3 of them got scrubbed out. So it was funny.
Yeah. Hey, Gumeracha, as I think we mentioned before, Benny alluded to it, had that period of success, then went that long stint without a flag. But as we said, from 2010 onwards for a few years, it wasn't a healthy time for the club, was it?
No, it was dark times. And
in fact, was there not a chance it might actually fold it?
I think it'd have to with some of those floggings that they got in that period. But then, as I said, the juniors kept coming through, and that was really, vital for the club. And there's some very good juniors, and obviously now that they don't have under 17s or 18s or whatever it is now, 14s and a half, whatever the Hills League keeps changing, it's going to be difficult. When the Sam and the Digger Hannahs start retiring, it's going to be difficult to fill that void. So it's like all clubs, I guess, peaks and troughs and good times and bad times, but they've struggled through and they've come out the other side, and they've been fantastic in the last 4 years. Well,
it's interesting. One thing that you've researched on that seems to continually be successful is the tour down under.
despite screwing the little towns,
Has it ever been through Gumeracha? Yes, it would.
Yeah, it comes through there quite often, but I think they've only had one start. But it's it used to be $25,000 for a start, and 25, 30 for a finish. So it's hard to justify because there's not the economic return that you got. As you say, the shops close because they can't get a park, and they go somewhere else for a paper that day. So. It's got some issues. I could spend another hour talking about the thesis.
We'll have to get you back. Talk about the but fantastic. But as we said, Nige, we appreciate you coming. It's a fantastic publication, and it's even been, which is the best book. Probably the first one because you're in it. Yeah. But they're both fantastic. Yeah. And the research, just quickly, the research that went in it, all the old courier cuttings and everything.
Yeah, and
collectively, could you give me a ballpark figure of the hours you spent on this?
No, I couldn't. Because I'd have to go to the State Library for 2-hour, 3-hour stints, sitting there in front of the microfiche. I lost count of how many times I did that. And then sitting at home, I was, getting a house built at Clayton Bay, and I had nothing to do. I was renting, so I had nothing to do. So every night, probably doing a bit of... so I just couldn't qualify it.
Nothing.
Yeah. Well, if people want to get the book again, it's ozsportsdoc@gmail.com.
That's right.
I'll put that on the Huddle page.
Lovely.
Thanks very much for joining us.
Just quickly, is there any humorous story, just quickly, before
there's lots of humorous stories.
Someone lost their shorts or something? Or?
No, well, the funny one I always tell is 89, Ian Carpenter and I were playing. I'm in the forward pocket. He's full forward. We're running down to the pocket, and there's this huge behemoth of a man in full back. And he says, Jam, I feel a bit crook. You take full forward, I'll take the pocket. I said, all right, I'll take one for the team. Well, the guy that was the behemoth, he didn't move out of the goal square, and I kicked 10 goals. And Carpy got about 2. And I'm always reminding him about that day when he said, you take the square.
Fantastic. As I said, it's a great read. As I say, a good read guaranteed. So any fan, not just of the Gumeracha Football Club, but football in general, because it's got a very good, concise coverage of football in
You
general.
might have to add an extra couple of pages this year.
Yeah,
Well,
well, the
just
way
a
it's
lift
looking.
out.
So
yeah.
volume 3's already in the pipeline.
Addendum, yeah. Well, no,
Just a
that's it. No,
Yeah,
someone else can do it from now on.
fantastic.
Nigel Jamieson,
Thank God.
been a pleasure to have the doc in the house, that's for sure. So, all right, that wraps up a pretty entertaining huddle. We've got to thank our special guest, of course, Jake Billsborough. Of course, Nige coming in, Mark
Mark
Yedstone,
Yench.
and of course, Timmy Glover.
Yep.
So, well, that's about it, Benny. So,
Fantastic.
you'll be late again next week because back on the track with the under 8. So,
that'll be back on
do
that.
what you have
and, coming up is looking back with Brendan. Brendan, just quickly, what's coming up tonight?
Oh, we've got our midweek muster poem from Glenn Hughes. We're doing the Mount Lofty Singers Sunset Rock Concert.
Yep.
Convoy around Adelaide. Kids with cancer. Women in trucks. Doing a convoy on the 6th of July. Got an interview with the CEO.
Yep.
And we're catching up with the Bean, London to Melbourne.
Ah.
They're in India at the moment.
India, right.
Yeah, so it's been pretty hot.
Maybe you should get him in when they finally get him in the studio.
I'm
So
going
you'll
over
probably
there
be
when
the
they
only
arrive in
person
Melbourne.
covering them. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, fantastic.
Well, it could. The car's for sale, by the way, when it arrives back here.
Ah,
After all it's been through, probably be $1 million.
fantastic.
Coming up at 7, Brendan.
All right. Thank you very much, Huddlers, for joining us. And we look
Yeah,
forward to
nice.
catching you next Wednesday once again
Lovely.
here on
So you're not gonna do the
88.9 FM, Lofty Radio. And until we talk again, keep chasing your goals. Bye for now.
Okay, sorry.